I figured it out, guys.
So we
Okay, so first of all, I would like to say hi to RVD, my main man. And the reason that I ever even discovered Trello or started nerding out on it was because of you, Ryan. And I remember you were showing me like what you planned to do with it. And whenever you start to show me something technological, I try to like absorb as much as I can, but my brain can't wrap all the way around it, right? So then I remembered I was like trying to text you and be like, how did you do this or that? And then I was just like, you know what? I'm going to take this in a different direction. And so the direction that I took things was a little bit similar, but I basically took my fate into my own hands and started creating boards and templates. Now, I swear I need to like hire a developer and invent something that can do all of this, but I don't like using Trello for daily tasks or repetitive tasks. I like using Trello for projects that have a start point and an end point, and then you can, archive or use those boards for analytics or historical purposes. I'm going to go ahead and get prepared here and open my Trello. And then I'll share my
start
screen.
to finish, are you talking about like a transaction from open to close?
Exactly. So for
That's
instance, a transaction that's open to close, or a onboarding system, or like a training that has a start to finish. Any of that, my brain can wrap around in Trello, but do not disturb your shit, right? But I do not enjoy it for like repetitive tasks or any of that stuff, or like daily tasks or weekly tasks. I still prefer Asana for that. So real quick, so this is an example of some of Asana tasks that we have going on. So like evergreen tasks, and not only evergreen tasks, but just one-off type tasks. For some reason, my brain doesn't capture it in Trello. My eyes don't capture it. It doesn't capture my attention. So when we tried to migrate everything into Trello, it just didn't work. I only and exclusively use Trello for projects that have a start to a finish. Okay, so I just wanted to kind of throw that disclaimer in. If you guys find a way that works better for you with Trello, that's great. And it sucks having more than one system. I use Slack, Asana, Trello. It's nuts, but I have to use what can get my attention or what I think is the most streamlined per thing.
Sure.
All right. Okay, so
use KV Core still?
Yes. Yep.
I use transactions
now
in there or no?
No, I didn't find value in that. But I want to use KV Core because I use Core Teams, and Core Teams, you can have unlimited MLSs feeding into your IDX. So right now I have an agent on my I have agents on my team in the Quad Cities, Dubuque, and now Pensacola, Florida area. And so it allows me up to 3 MLSs before I have to start paying more. But when I add more, when I keep expanding, it's only going to be $50 per MLS. So I decided to go with Core Teams because of that.
Okay. Well, I was asking because like if they had some sort of a workflow with your transactions that you can link Trello and Asana to, so it's all in one place.
And you know what? I might be able to via Zapier. And not only that with Zapier, but Slack has really good bots and links for Asana, Trello.
Okay.
I have to use Zapier for KV Core triggers, but I'm sure, you know what, like I should probably go all the way nerdy and look into that
I ended up
sometime.
doing that like real quick one day, and I'm like, you know what? I'm like, we have transactions in Follow Up Boss, and I started utilizing that, and you can link through like an API connection with Trello, and then Dot Loop, and you can also do SkySlope. So like I have all of my links like in my individual like records. So like if I'm, you know, working with Sandy Lynn and I pull up Sandy Lynn's contact and I have my deal on the right hand side, like I can like one click tap and it just like takes me to Trello or whatever from there. And then we can use all of our communication within the CRM then. And then just hit the link to go to those different areas to look at where we're at in the process. And it's kind of cool.
Do you have that pulled up right now?
I don't.
Okay, I'm super interested
For like
in
I'll
having
I'll
to
come
share
over
your
and show
screen
you
at
that.
some point. All right, cool.
Okay.
Okay, so again, things that I use Trello for are projects that have a start point, end point, such as I have a buyer purchase board and then a listing sellers board. I used to do lead management through it, but it just got totally ridiculous. I'll show you the example of my lead management board. I had all of my leads being zapped into Trello, or I mean, yeah, into Trello. And it's cool because I have all this information. And up here, if you ever need to search for something, you totally can search for a name or whatever. But I just found that way too consuming. I didn't want it to kill our notifications. So what I do is if it becomes a legitimate lead, we add them into our appropriate board, or even if we're like nurturing them, I'll add them to whatever board just to kind of remind my eyes to follow up with them. The biggest thing is, you know, I can put a lead in KV Core all day long or into my CRM, and my CRM can remind me as much as it wants to follow up. But again, I have to use what works for me, and what works for me is seeing their name on card in my Trello, because when I'm looking at my transactions, to me, I'm looking at, obviously I'm looking at people, but I'm also looking at money. Like, what do I have cooking? What do I have cooking right now? Oh, I should check in with this guy. You know what I mean? And for me, it just works better for my brain. Okay. So I did a quick rundown of Trello yesterday, and Ryan, you're kind of well versed in Trello, up to like what you showed me. And everyone else that is in this training was here yesterday. So now I think I can just go forward from there. I don't have to really repeat myself. Are you guys interested in automation, creating buttons, creating checklists that automatically populate to a card? What do you want to see?
Sure. I like the automation.
Yes.
Okay. And is that what you want to get out of this too, Tracy? All right, cool. Okay, so let's see, how do I want to train on this? Okay, so I'm going to take this board that I'm not working in anymore, and I am going to, again, what I do is I keep my master checklist in the title card that's at the top. Okay, so this looks like a cover, but it's actually not a cover. It's the top card on the list. Okay, so that's going to be very important to keep in mind, because if you start automating moving a card from one list to the other, you're going to want to select move to the bottom of the list, most likely, because if you move it to the top, then you bump your title card down and it starts going down, down, down. So that's a biggie that I learned. Even though this looks like my title card, it's actually just the top card on the list, and it's where I keep my checklist. Okay, so let's say I'm going to put a checklist in here, and I'm just going to put this guy in here. Okay, hot leads checklist. I'm just going to pretend that like this checklist belongs in here. I'm going to add it. Let's pretend that I completely created this checklist specifically for this card. Matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead and change it to home valuation, just so that I know what I'm adding, where I'm adding. Okay, so again, when you do your master checklists, you have to have them populating from one place. for some reason, having them all listed on the right in like a big column of checklists just didn't work for me. I had to have it on the column on the master card. It's just how my brain worked and what worked best for my brain. So if we're tightening up our processes, I'm working on a test card, I'm working on card down here, and I'm like, oh shit, I forgot. I'll show you how to automatically add the checklist though. But if I'm working the checklist and I'm like, oh shit, I forgot this step, I don't add it to the card itself. I make sure to go up to the top and I add it to this card so that in the future, when each time the checklist is automatically populating, it's populating the correct checklist. So that's another huge habit you're going to want to get into. Okay, so what you do to automate is up here, there's automation. And you know what? Like, I hope everything works right, because I have not played with automating for a while, but it's like riding a bike. It is all up here. And I've got my energy drink. So we've got our choice of rules, buttons, or email reports. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to add a rule. Okay. So all of these rules are on my other boards, and you actually have to create a completely new rule. I have tried to replicate rules and then change them, and it just never quite sticks. So if I were you, I would start from scratch creating whatever rule you would like to create. So it's very like finicky, and it is very specific, and you have to make sure you select the right thing, and then I would make sure to test it afterward. So our command doesn't have a trigger yet. Obviously, the only thing we can select is to add a trigger. So what I would like to do is automatically add that checklist when the card is added to that list. Okay, so I am going to say when the card is added to this list. That's the rule that I feel like creating. There are other times that I will say when a card's added to the whole board, anywhere on the board, I want these things to happen. So you can choose anything, okay? But now you need to get very specific, okay? And this is what I end up doing. Where's my Safari? There it is. Okay, so this is what I end up doing. And this is kind of weird, but you're going to see why I have to do this. I also open Trello on the internet. Okay, what we were looking at is my Trello app. And then I'm also opening Trello on the internet, and you're going to see why. So I'm going to go into that lead management board. And okay, all right, damn it. I was waiting for it to catch up. Now, again, we're concentrating on the home valuation card. And then down here, you have to get that name of that checklist absolutely correct. So always just go check on it. It takes just a second. I'm going to, when a card is added to the list, oh yeah, seller lead or home valuation. Right here, you can even select if so-and-so adds it to a card. So if I add this to the card, do it. But if somebody else does it, don't worry about it, anything like that, right? And then also you can even specify what card happens, okay? But for me, it's just like when any card is added to this list, boom, that's my trigger, okay? Creating a card, moving a card over, anything, okay? When a card is added to this list, I'm going to go over to the checklist option. I'm going to say add and this is where you have to get it perfectly right. So home valuation, checklist, and then this we need to use. So I'm going to go over here, scroll down, share. I have to link to that card. And I'm going back into Trello. from card, boom. Nope, I don't need to rename the checklist. So add the home valuation checklist from this card to the card. Okay, you got to hit the plus again for it to add to the rule, because then you can, you know, add more actions or whatever. But I feel like this is all we need to do for this first step of automating. So I'm going to click save. And we get confetti. Okay, so now I'm going to go in and I'm going to add another card, and I want to see what happens. Boom. You see down here, you get the preview that your checklist has been added, and you can open it up, make sure. Now, what's really cool, again, when you are designing your master checklists, you can automatically have people be assigned to these things. It's going to trigger notifications for them, things like that. So, okay, so on this first step, how's everyone doing? Who has questions, anything so far? Because even though that seems simple, I swear to God, you're going to get stuck on it. So fire away.
I mean, it makes sense to me, but then I've used the system before, but I'll
The
tell
fact that I had to figure out to, in a different screen, have Trello also open to make sure that I have access to the link, that I'm naming the checklist correctly. All of those things have to line up perfectly in place. Okay, guys. So here's another couple of things that I do. Back into the rules. Let's see. I'll show you how to do a button. It's very similar. So I have tons of buttons. Offer accepted. We'll add a pending checklist and move it to the pending thing. So let's say we have, gosh, it's so hard in my lead management board. I'm going to go over to listing coordination. I wonder if I can actually get something done while we're in here. Okay, let me create a reload button because I need to add a reload checklist. If it's reload, let me see if I even have a reload button. No, initial reload. What does initial reload do? I do have a reload checklist. Okay. Well, I was trying to see if there's something I can actually do. I don't think I have a price reduction button. Okay, so I'm going to create a price reduction button. Let me make sure so I don't look like an idiot in front of you guys. Damn it. Damn, I'm too good, you guys. Okay, let's see. Do I have sold.com? All right, sweet. Sweet, I can do a sold.com button. All right. Okay, so I'm going to go to automation again in the board that I want to create the rule in. I wish that I could create rules for all boards, but for some reason, either I'm dumb and haven't figured out how to do that, or it's just not working out for me. So I'm going to click button, create button, sold.com. I really enjoy tracking my lead sources. And I also, for certain leads like Relo, obviously we all know that we have to do extra shit for that. Sold.com, I have to like update that database and do certain things if the lead comes from there. So, and I'm also, again, I'm a very visual person. So I have to, you know, pick something that trips my trigger, if you will. And then I'm going to add the action, which is when I click that sold.com button, I need to add the checklist, right? Mm-hmm. So I need to go back over to this Trello, go to my boards, and then buyer, was I in buyer or seller? Listing. Okay, listing. Listing coordination. And then I'm going to go all the way over to my sold.com checklist. So the random checklists that don't quite apply to a certain category, I'm going to put all the way over to the right. That's how I organized it. And down here, sold.com checklist. I've stopped putting the word checklist in here, so I'm going to go ahead and change that right now. Sold.com. I think you even, unlike email addresses, I think you even need to have your caps good and everything on there. So just take super good note. So you're going to add sold. You're going to learn to type first. And then, did I copy that link?
Yeah, you did.
I'm like, okay, cool. So add it to the card. Boom. Sometimes I'm afraid to get too specific because things happen and you can over automate and you can lose things because you weren't specific enough or you were too specific. So let's test it out. By the way, I'll show you something in here. I have automated to where my assistant, my TC, is added to every single card that's created automatically. Just so you know, I already set up a rule like that. So it's going to automatically, add who it pertains to it. All right. So down here, and I'm waiting for that to populate because sometimes these links are finicky. But if I go up here, sold.com, success, it will tell you, by the way, if it's not successful. It will be like Butler could not run this and blah, blah, blah. So it was able to successfully add my sold.com checklist to the transaction. So that's how to do a button. What other types of automation are you looking for?
I got something that's not quite automation, and
Okay.
thought it reminded me when you clicked on that card. Custom fields. Is there a way to make them prettier? Like, can you get them so they're not just in that clump of custom fields? Like, have a title of like, seller information, buyer information, attorney information, and then have those fields underneath.
Here's what it looks like on the front of the card if you choose to have these custom fields populating on the front of the card. I thought custom fields would be a great idea at first, especially for data tracking. What attorney do I use the most? And just different things like that, right? But you're right, there's totally clunky. Only recently have we been able to move them and reorder them. I used to have to delete the entire list.
That was
yeah. Now they let you reorder them. But here's what I don't like about them. And I'm trying to see if I have any good examples because we kind of quit using the custom fields on here because they have kind of proved themselves worthless in my opinion. So over here, if it is going to spill off of the card, it won't also read right under the card. It'll be like blah 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 and it'll just stop there and you're like, well, and then you click in here to look at the rest of it and it just spills off in there too. So you have to legitimately keep it short if you want to even see what your custom field is. So instead of information, I only like to use custom fields on anything I want to analyze. So lead source, money, different things like that. And I don't even like using the custom fields for money anymore because I had to get way too into the weeds. I do like the listing status. I feel like the agent should select if, RTC will update the listing status in Paragon. I feel like the agent should select, is it pending continue to show? Like, what are you doing? And then we also have like different deal sources. So that's kind of nice for drop down purposes.
When it comes to transaction coordination, if you don't like using custom fields, where do you hold that information at?
So what I'm doing now is I'm having agents, and I haven't finished developing this yet, but my TC and I are like, where can we tighten up our process for that? And here's the thing. Not all team members enjoy using Trello, but some team members love using Trello. So I want Trello to be a blessing, not a curse to whoever loves it, right? And I'm not going to teach you jack shit because it's on Trello for the most part. And if it's on Trello, like, don't bother me until you've looked for it. But if you don't want to use Trello, you don't have to. Okay. So, what we're going to do is a Google form. So like back in other brokerages, when you pended a file and you had to like fill out whatever, except it has a couple of extra things, like some things that Karen needs to fill out in SkySlope. What was the deal source? What's the split on commission between you and the team leader? Because mine is flexible. It's a minimum of 25 and it can go up higher.
Yep.
Who do you want to use for inspections? Do you want me to book inspections? This is all for Karen. So she's putting together all the fields that she's going to need for the Google form. And that's going to be what the agent has to fill out to pen the file. If the agent doesn't know some information, then she knows to ask, you know, the lender, what attorney do you plan to use, blah, 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 without us looking stupid and like our team doesn't communicate. So if you find a better solution, definitely let me know. But to me, I'm like, anybody can fill out a Google form. It's not that ridiculous for an agent, but Trello, I understand if some agents are like, fuck that, you know, so.
Okay. I'm definitely gonna have to book some time with you.
Okay. No problemo. Okay, what else you guys? Oh yeah, so I add a location to every card because I showed you guys every time I archive or close out a card, it moves to a different board. So I created a rule where it moves to a different board, and then I can open up that board, click on the map and be like, this is how much business I've done in this area. You want to know numbers? Here's, you know, I'm not lying here I am in this area, and it's a very visual thing. So that's why I like Trello, is because it's so visual and the sky's the limit. Another thing that I do is, and it's kind of an agent attraction idea as well, but I have a Google form that agents who are either with EXP, not EXP, I don't care where they're from, who they're with, but if you want referrals from me, I'm going to check my database first. So I have a Google form that I send out any agent who wants to fill it out. It's on my website. If you want referrals from me, be in my database. And I check that form first. But when somebody fills out that form, it also creates a card for them in my agent attraction board. If they're already with EXP, I archive it. If they, you know, seem like a prospect, I, you know, keep them in there. And again, seeing their name, and then seeing what trigger generated them into Trello, just really helps me keep on top of things. I would say that is something that has incredibly changed my business, is just seeing a name, remembering to talk to them, right place, right time. You know what I'm saying? What else you guys got for me? Hit me with anything.
That's all I can think of right now.
What do you got, Tracy? I'll show you anything. Nikki, nice to see you, or your name at least.
I know Nikki uses Asana, and when I logged on, you guys had mentioned that. So how do those talk to each other, or do you have to use that?
Here's one thing that I've noticed about Asana. Oh, I better refresh it. One thing that I've noticed about Asana is they actually have the ability to be Trello-like, but I have not played with it enough, and I'm not sure that I want to. I think I'd rather pay $12 a month for Asana and $12 a month for Trello, because it would be so much to like build out. But so how they talk to each other, you know, I could have all kinds of different triggers, but one of my favorite things to do, the way I speak to my team, or yeah, the way I communicate with my team, and especially my assistants, is through Slack. And down here, you can connect all kinds of apps to Slack. So for instance, Karen had updated some social media. She was asking me for a caption, and she asked me in Canva. She didn't ask me in Slack, but Canva told me in Slack, that she's looking for this information. And guess what? I can click on that and it's going to take me directly to what I need to handle. So now Asana, same thing. She's completing tasks. She's assigning tasks to me. I can view the task in Asana, or I can go directly to what she actually posted, which is what she wants me to take care of. I can like it. I can change anything from the Slack bot, basically. Another thing that I love is anywhere in Slack, let's say do you ever miss a call and you're on the other line and you're like, I'm going to call that person back, and then you never call them back and you feel like a huge piece of shit about it? What I do is, if I'm on a call, I'm usually in front of my computer. So what I'll do is I will send a message to myself and I'm like, call Holly. Now I'm not ever going to look at that again. But what I do is I click the 3 dots over here and I say, remind me about this. And I pick like when I think I'm going to, need to be reminded about it. And the Slack bot will be like, hey, you asked me to remind you about this. So I also use it for lead follow-up. And in Slack, this is how we talk about our transactions. So would I love it if we all just only use Trello to talk about our transactions? Yes, I would. Do I want people leaving my team because they don't want to deal with that system versus this system? No. So I'm going to be accommodating. And so this is how some people like to communicate. Other agents love to communicate for workplace. So we, through workplace chat, so we create a channel name for the transaction in workplace. It's just, until I have enough money to get a developer to put all of this in one program, which, you know what, I really should do. I actually just hired a new assistant who is a tech genius. So I guess we'll see what happens. But I feel, that's what every agent needs. That's our pain point. Our biggest pain point is having everything either at least talk to each other or be all in one system. So that's how I get things to talk to me down here. This is when an agent fills out a buyer intake form or a buyer fills out their buyer intake form, I have it zapping to Karen. She knows to now set up an MLS search and to start putting them in KV Core, getting them through the process. I try to get everything to talk to each other, and there's always something new that we got to do. What else you guys got?
I don't know. I'm just blown away of all the stuff that I need to get working on.
I know, but remember you and I talked about trading time for that other thing?
Oh, yeah, we need to do that.
Yeah, so that's good. And I love thunder. You guys, I love thunderstorms. I'm a mimosa. I'm training and a thunderstorm is going on. Today is an awesome day. This is the exact thing that I love doing in life. So thank you and salute. Thank you for being here. So, okay. I mean, really, I guess if nobody has any other questions, I don't have to keep you guys all on the horn, but if you have, JJ did have a really good question yesterday that he poloed me about regarding Trello. And now that he asked me, I tried to look it up and I'm sure I'm overcomplicating it. So if you guys find the answer, let me know. But he asked, how do I find out all the tasks that are assigned to me, like a list of tasks in Trello? And so, of course, I'm coming over here and I'm clicking my notifications, but this doesn't give me the tasks that are assigned to me. This tells me what's happened in each of the cards. Okay. So I kind of started clicking around looking, because that's a very valid concern. I want a list of shit that I got to accomplish today. I need a list of my priorities. And that's totally correct. I'm just looking at notes being added, different things here. So I actually I didn't have enough time to truly research it, but he brought up a very good question. And so in your experimentation with Trello, please do let me know if you find that out, because I think that, yeah, that's a very big gap if they don't have that. Cool. All right. Well, hey, thanks a lot for attending, you guys, and let me know if you need anything. Also, let's see, I can stop the recording when I figure it out. I never remember. Okay, there we go.